Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer u'boreh Moshe Yoseh Shalom u'boreh Moshe Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer u'boreh Moshe Yoseh Shalom u'boreh Moshe Yoseh Shalom u'boreh HaKosher Yoseh Shalom u'boreh HaKol. ואני אשיר עוזך וארנן בבוקר חסדך כי היית משגב לי ומנוס ביום צרי ואני אשיר עוזך וארנן בבוקר חסדך כי היית משגב לי ומנוס ביום צרי ואני אשיר עוזך וארנן לבוקר חסדך כי היית משגב לי ומנוס ביום צרי If my voice were louder, if my body stronger, I would run through the streets
Shabbat Shalom, everyone who's here in person without mass. Unbelievable moment. Thank God for that alone. Shabbat Shalom to everybody who's watching from home or wherever you are. We're so honored to have you here at this amazing Shabbat service. We recognize some of you maybe, as I mentioned right before, might be your first time in any house of worship for a long time, first time maskless in a long time. And maybe first time even at a bat mitzvah experience. We are so glad to have you with us. And also for those of you who are in various places around America or the world, we welcome you as well. We're going to be praying our service for this Shabbat morning from the red prayer books, as I noted to people here in the congregation, the smaller red books, and we'll guide you with the pages. And those of you that are at home, you'll see on the YouTube live stream, there'll be links on the side right by the box of the picture, and one of them is the prayer book, the Siddur. And you'll see a few other things, the Torah reading and other things that we'll give you a heads up about as things evolve. We've gotten good at this over a year and a half. But the bottom line is that even if you are not familiar with Hebrew or this is your first time at a bat mitzvah experience, which we are elated to have you with us, the point here is to be grateful, to pray, to let the melodies flow over you. And if you feel like participating just with a la 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 or just humming along, you are absolutely welcome to do so. You know, even though we pray predominantly in Hebrew, and you'll notice there's English on the pages as well, we believe that God hears all prayers in all forms. So if you want to take a moment to enjoy the prayer and feel yourself so proud of this amazing young person on her moment of approaching adulthood, early adulthood, and you want to say thank God for that, that's the point. So the prayers are here to inspire all of us to offer prayers of gratitude for an amazing family and for an amazing moment, to thank God to reach this moment. Even we've advanced the place where we can. This is really the first bat mitzvah. Feels like a normal-ish Shabbat in easily 15 or more months. We could not be happier and feel fortunate to celebrate it with this amazing family, even though they are Virginia people. We'll get over that later. All right. So in the spirit of gratitude, we are going to open our red prayer books, the Siddurim, to page 103. And we begin our service, we rise. For those that are able, I want to say that, by the way, we'll invite people to rise and sit, but if it's too challenging to rise, it's okay. You're not disrespecting. You can remain seated. It's not an issue. But if you'd like to rise, we invite you to do so on page 103. We'll lead the prayers in Hebrew, but you'll see translation, transliteration on 103 to the left. Birchot HaShachar.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam אשר נתן לסחביבינה, להבחין בין יום ובין לילה.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני בצלמו.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני בת חורים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני ישראל.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם פוקח עברי.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם מלביש ערומים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם מתיר אסורים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם זוקף גבובים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם רוקע הארץ על המים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המכין מצעדי גבר.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשה לי כל צורכי.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם עוזי ישראל בגבורה.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם עוטר ישראל בתפארה.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם הנותן ליעף כוח.
אמן.
122 ברוך שאמר והיה העולם ברוך הוא ברוך עושה בראשית ברוך מבשר ברוך עושה מקיים וסחר דברים ברוך מלך העולם רחמם השם יזמרו לשמי
יחיד כעולמים מלך משובח ומפואר את שמו הגדול ברוך אתה אדוני מלך מעולל ותשמעון.
You may be seated.
So Shabbat Shalom,
Shabbat
friends
Shalom.
who are near and far. We feel your nearness no matter where you are. We're about to enter into a part of our tefillah, our prayer this morning, in which we begin to just arrive in our seats, not only in our bodies, but to awaken our hearts, to kind of wake up from our spiritual slumber that we all fall into over the course of a week. And I want to offer as a kavanah, as an intention this morning, we're going to explore this much further as we take the Torah out and study it together. In this week's Torah portion, there is a very famous moment in which God commands, the water has run out, the Israelites are wandering in the wilderness, Miriam has died, there's no water, and God commands Moshe, to speak to the rock, and then water is going to flow from this rock. And Moshe instead sort of loses it. Moses loses it just like we all lose it from time to time, and strikes the rock twice. And the water comes, but the consequence for Moshe is very severe. He's not going to be able to make it into the promised land himself. And I want to suggest that we also, in our own lives, sometimes lose it and fall into using harsh measures, whether we're, God forbid, using a stick on people, but using harsh words or harsh behavior, when instead we always have the option to practice kind words and softness. Because as human beings, we're all growing. We all need to be rebuked at times. We have to rebuke ourselves. We have to rebuke the people that we love. But Shabbat can be a time when we recalibrate to using soft words, kind words, speaking to the rock, so to speak, as opposed to striking it. So as Rabbi Eric said, if over the course of our tefillah you find in your own soul, in your own heart, that words of criticism or judgment or harshness arise, there's an invitation to shift into a different way of speaking with ourselves, let alone with one another, and that is with words of softness. So we're going to do this morning on page 136 with Ashrei. אשרי יושבי ביתך עוד יעלו חסלה.
אשרי עם שככה לו, אשרי עם שאדוני אלוהיו.
תהילה לדוד, ממך אלוהי המלך, וברך שמך לעולם ועד.
בכל יום אברכך ועלה שמך לעולם ועד.
גדול ונעמונן מאוד, ולגדולתו אין חקר.
דור לדור ישבח מעשיך וגבורתך יגידו.
הדר כבוד הודיך ודברי נפלאותיך שיחה.
ועזוז נורותיך יאמרו דלתך ספרנה.
סכר טובך יביעו וצדקתך ירננו.
חנון ורחום אדוני ערך אפיים וגדול חסד.
טוב אדוני לכל ורחמיו על כל מעשיו.
יודוך אדוני כל מעשיך וחסידיך יברכוך.
כבוד מלכותך יאמרו גבורתך ידברו.
להודיע לבני אדם גבורותיו וכבוד הדר מלכותו.
מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים וממשלתך בכל דור ודור.
סומך על כל הנופלים זוקף לכל הכפופים.
הנה חולך יסברו ואתה נותן להם את אוכלם בעיתו.
פותח את ידיך מסביר לכוחי רצון.
צדיק אדוני בכל דרכיו חסיד בכל מעשיו.
קרוב אלי לכל קוראיו לכל אשר יקראו באמת.
רצון יראיו יעשה ואת שבתם ישמע ויושיעם.
שומר נא את כל אוהביו את כל רשעים ישמיד.
תהילת אדוני ידבר פיו יברך כל בשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד.
ואנחנו נברך יד עליו
We continue on page 141 with Psalm 150. We chant the line in this beautiful psalm, Kol haneshama tehaleliyah. A neshama is a soul. Tova has a beautiful soul. We all have a beautiful soul. And the word for neshama is the same as the word for breath, neshima. So if all you do this morning here is breathe and be aware that you're breathing and the gift that it is to be alive and to feel your aliveness and to breathe, then I think that is very, very prayerful. So know that as we daven this morning. Hallelujah,
Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. El bekocho, Hallelujah, Kiauzo, Hallelujah, Vimorav, Hallelujah, Hirogulo, Hallelujah, 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 Hallelujah. Ika shofar, hallelujah, benevel bechinor, hallelujah, hof machol, hallelujah, beminim beogav, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. V'tziltzalei shama, hallelujah, v'tziltzalei trua, kol haneshama hallelujah, kol haneshama hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah.
We take a deep breath, Nishima Amuka. As we prepare for Nishmat Kol Chai, page 145, the breath, the soul of every being, every living being, blesses God's name, however we understand that to be.
Nishmat kol chai, Tevarech Shimcha, Adonai Eloheinu. Nishmat kol chai, Tevarech Shimcha, Adonai Eloheinu. רחמים ידמין אילו ויש הקיים שלנקם גלי יצגתן bottom 146
מיין מלך
ומי ישבלה ומי ירוג לה
הגדול הגיבור והנורא
אל עליון
בונה
שמיים וארץ
נעלה לך נשבחך נפארך נברך את שם קודשך כאמור
לדוד ברכי נפשרנה לכל רבי
את שם קודשו האל בצד צמות עוזך
הגדול בכבוד שמך
הגיבור לנצח
הנורא בנורותיך
המלך היושב
על כיסא רם ונישא
שוכנה
מרום
וקדוש שמו
וכתוב לנו צדיקים באדוני שמנבא תהילה
בפי ישרים תתהלה
ובדברי צדיקות תתברך
ובלשון חסידים תתרומם
ובקרב קדושים תקדש
ובמקלות
עלות
רבבות
עמך
עמך
בית
בית
ישראל.
ישראל להודות, להלל, לשבח, לפעל, לרומם, להדר ולחנם, ולקלס על כל דברי שירות ותשבחות. דוד בן ישי,
עבדך משיחך 148 ישתבח שמך לעד
מלכנו
מלך הגדול הקדוש בשמיים ברכות ומטב יד עולם
ברכות והודות
מטב יד עולם
ברוך אתה אדוני
ברוך שמו
המלך הגדול בתשבחות אל ההודעות אדון הנפלאות
הבורא בשירי זמרה
מלך מלכי עולמים
אמן
יתקטל ויתקדש שמי רבה
אמן
בלמה תברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון ובמכון ובחי תכל בית ישראל פגלה בזמן קריב ימרו
אמן ישמע במורא לעולם ומעל מיה
יתברך וישתבח ויתפר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתעטר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי לקודשי
בריחו
מכל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה Tamiran belma vimeru.
Amen. 149, a slight bow for the Baruch Hu.
Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed.
You may be seated. 150.
First blessing before the Shema. We focus on our connection to the natural world, to the presence of light and darkness, the way in which they flow one from the other, that is all part of the cycle, the circle, and the physical matter of our existence. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or uvorech oshet
Shalom uvoed
hakol
הארץ תעקור בטבח עליון למזרח מוציא חמה ממקומו בנו ממקום שבטה תומך בגבים ועשים ראשית המלך נאמר אין
כרך אדוני אלוהינו בעולם הזה ואין זולתך מלכנו לחיי עולם אפס פתח גאולנו מת המשיח
ואין מלך משיענו
לתחיית
המתים.
המתים
151
אל אדון על כל המעשים ברוך ומבורך בפיקו נשמה גאלו וטובו מעלה עולם דעת ותבונה סובב עמותו המתקהל על חיות הקודש ונדר בכבוד מרכבה זהות ומישור לפני חיזור חסד ורחמים לפני כבודו טובים מאורות שברא אלוהינו יצרם בדעת בבינה ובהשכל כוח וגבורה נתן בהם להיות מושלים בקרת אבן מלאים זיו ומיקים נורא נזירם בכל העולם שמחים בצאתם וששים בואם עושים מהם הרצון גונם פאר וכבוד נונים לשמוע צולה ורינה לזכר מלכותו על השמש ויזרח אורה והדגין צורת הלבנה שבח נותנים לו קוצב המערות דיברת וגדולה זרבים ואובנים וחיות הקודש לאל אשר שבה מכל המעשים
תיבן מלכה עונש ומשבטים ותודות לאדוני לפיכך יפרעו Top 153. Aorim, Beorim, Gimurim, Kulam osim be'ema ube'yira.
כולם פותחים את פיהם בקדושה ותורה בשירה ובזמרה ומברכים ושרים ומפארים ומעריצים ומקדישים וממליכים את שם האל המלך הגדול הגיבור והנורא הקדוש הוא וכולם מקבלים עליהם עול מלכות שמיים זה מזה ונותנים רשות זה לזה להקדיש ליוצרם בנחת רוח בשפה ברורה ובנימה,
קדוש העולם כאחד עוני.
ואומרים
ביראה קדוש 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 על נצורות מלוך לארץ גבודו
והאופנים
והחיות הקודש ברעש גדול
מנסים
לעומת
ומצרפים
צרפים
לעומת
לעומתם
המשבחים
ואומרים
ברוך
כבוד אדוני
ממקומו
הלל ברוך נימודך וכייסך שלום נחמות ויעשה וישכמו
אור חדש על ציון תאיר ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות.
154 the prayer before Shema Yisrael. We gather the four tzitziot of our talit together as one. Prepare for the statement that God is one. Abba Avtanu Eloheinu Chemla Gdora v'Terachamot Alinu v'Rachamana Merchim Merchim Kin Techonenu v'Rachamana Merchim Merchim Dabek Diben Sadechan
וקרבתנו לשמך קדושה לה באמת להודות לך ויחדך באהבה ברוך אתה אדוני
ברוך שמו
הבוחר בעמו ישראל
מאהבה Israel, Adonai, Eloheinu, Adonai, Echad.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושינתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ולדך בדרך ושוכבך וקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפו בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך.
Page 156, ועם שמוע,
והיה עם
תשמעו
שמוע
תשנוכי מצווה. אתם בתור אצלכם ביתו. שם לכם בנים שחוויתם. מנך כתבתם בביתך.
אדוני אלוהיכם אמת
ויציב לכם
לדור ודור הוא קיים ושמו קיים וחיסון נכון ומלכות ובמלכותו לעד קיים
157
שאתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו מלכנו מלך אבותינו ואמותינו גואלנו גואל אבותינו ואמותינו יוצרנו צור ישועתנו עודנו ומצילנו ולעם שמך אל אלוהים זולתך עזרת אבותינו ואמותינו אתה הוא מעולם
משפטיך אשרי איש משפטיך אמת 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 יצנגותנו אלוהינו וניתנו ולמדנו middle 158.
לאל עליון ברוך ומבורך משה ומרים בני ישראל לחנו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נדר בקודש נוראתי לו אוסף אלה שירה חדשה שבחו גדולים ושמחת שפת הים יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד צור ישראל קומה בעזרת ישראל קומה עובדי נאומך יהודה וישראל צור ישראל קומה גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש 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 ישראל ברוך אתה אדוני God Israel.
So, we place our feet together towards the ark, towards Jerusalem. We begin our prayer together, the Amidah, pages 159 through 161. We'll pray together as a congregation. The next several pages are done silently. Chance for each of us to pray to God in our own voice in a whisper. God is so close, it doesn't require a loud voice, just very intimate connection. And on Shabbat, we try to avoid asking for things, although there are many things our world needs. We focus on being grateful. What are the things in our life that we may not have, or which we already have? We don't have to ask for something more, but there are blessings right before us. Maybe we don't take as obviously or notice them. So 159 to 161 together, and the rest is silent prayer between each of us and the Holy One.
Adonai zevadai divnach uriani tehilatecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah האל הגדול הגיבור הנורא אל עליון גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גואל לבני בניהם למען שמו ויאהבה מלך עוזר ופוקד מושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע מוריד הצל מהקל חיים בחסד מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים סומך נובלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורי ומקיים אמונתו משני עפר וכמוך בגבורות ומדומה לך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני בחיי המתים
אמן קדשים בעולם כשם שמקדישי אותו בשמי ברוך כך כתוב על יד נביאך וארזה אל זה ואמר Gadol, 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 Adonai Elohim, Melech haaretz kvodo. Az bekor rash gadol, adir v'chazak, mashmim gol, nitnasim le'omat serafim, le'omatam, Baruch Yomeru, Baruch Adonai Mimkomo.
ממקומך
מכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו, כי בחיים אנחנו לך, מתי תמלוך בציון קרוב בימינו, לעולם ועד תשכון ידך תתגדל ותתקדש לצור ירושלים, עיר לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים, ועינינו תראינה מלכותך, גדבר אמור ושירי עוזך דוד משיח צדקך ימלוך לעולם אלוהיך ציון לדור לדור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד לך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו משנה עולם ועד, כי על מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני בשמו
הגדול.
Continue silent prayer.
Say shalom, shalom bimroma, yaseh shalom.
Turn to page 168, 167. Kaddish Shalem.
יתגדל ויתקדש מרבה,
אמן.
ועלמא דברי חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחיי חון ומכון, ובכן כל בית ישראל, בגלה בזמן קריב והימרו,
אמן. יהי שמירה במבורך, לעולם עולם והמיה יתברך.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמרי קודשה
בריחו.
לעילם מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תשוקתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה והימרו,
אמן.
תתקבל צלתן ובתון לכל ישראל קדם אביהון די בישמעיה והימרו,
אמן.
יהי שלום ברום שמיה וחיים עלינו וכל ישראל והימרו,
אמן.
עושה שלום ממרומיו
ויעשה
שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל והימרו, amen.
So, Tov, Chevra, we turn to page 168 in our prayer books, our seated reading for the Torah service. We invite the Bat Mitzvah and her family up to the bima as the Bat Mitzvah lead us in the prayers to open and prepare to take the Torah out of the ark. Bavakasha, Tova.
אין כמוך ואלוהים אדוני ואין כמעשיך.
מעבודך, מעבוד כל עולמים, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור. אדוני מלך, אדוני מלך, אדוני נמלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. אב הרחמים, היטיבה ברצונך את ציון. תבנה חומות ירושלים.
Please rise.
כי לך לבד בטחנו, מלך עולם ונישא אדון עולמים.
ויהי בנשוא אהרון ויאמר משה
Kuma Adonai ויפוצו אויביך וינוסו משנאיך מפניך כי מציון תצא תורה כי מציון תצא תורה ודבר אדוני מירושלים ברוך שנתן תורה תורה ברוך שנתן תורה תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו. Page 171, our Bat Mitzvah leads us responsively in Shema Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonai Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonai Kadosh Shemo.
Gadlu Ladonai Iti Unerome Shemo Yadav.
Adonai
Hagidula Yevura Yativeret Ve'anetzach Ve'ahod Ki chol v'shamayim u'ba'aretz Ki chol v'shamayim u'ba'aretz Adonai HaMamlacha Yamid Na'aseh Adonai Hagidula Ve'gibura Ve'atiferet Ve'anetzach Ve'ahod Ki chol v'shamayim u'ba'aretz Ki chol v'shamayim u'ba'aretz Adonai HaMamlacha Ve'amid Na'aseh Lechol Erosh Romemu Adonai Eloheinu V'ishtachavu L'Adam Raglav Kadosh Hu Romemu Adonai Eloheinu V'ishtachavu L'Har Kodsho
Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Yalla yalla la la yalla yalla la la yalla yalla la 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 yalla 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 la la yalla yalla la la yalla yalla la la la.
Maybe seated, everyone. So Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Once again, Shabbat Shalom, all those in YouTube land. We are now here to read and hear from the Torah. So for this, you can place the smaller red book, the Siddur, to the side for a few moments. You'll need the larger red books, the Chumashim. This is a copy of the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, in book form. And for those of you at home on YouTube, you should see a link next to the YouTube live stream, which you can click on for the Torah reading. As Rabbi Jenny noted before, the parsha is called Hukat. It is in the book of Numbers. So there are 5 books in the Torah. We're in the 4th book of the Torah, book of Numbers. And some of the major themes, we're going to hear more from our bat mitzvah about this interesting cow ritual, or which we'll hear more from her about. That's a big part of the Torah portion. And also the idea that Moses hits the rock and Moses speaking to it is a big part of that story as well. So actually famous stories in here. We're going to read now on page 881 in the Chumashim, the larger red books. Numbers chapter 19, verse 7. And for first Aliyah, we invite Marty and Luis Friedman to come forward for the first Aliyah. ויעזור והגיעים ושיר השימו ונאמר אמן הכל הבו גודל לאלוהינו כבוד לתורה יעמדו משה יצחק בן זרמן ובנעמי מרים בת אברהם לעלייה הראשונה ברוך שאתה תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו ואתם אביקים אדוני אלוהיכם חייהם היום. Spot there, Tova. So grandparents can kiss the toe if they'd like. There we go. To reach up a little bit. There you go. You fit.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Moed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorah Moed. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol hamim. V'natan lanu et Torto. Baruch atah Adonai noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'chi beis begadav hakohen. V'rachatz b'soro b'mayim. V'achar yavo el hamachane. V'tamei hakohen ad ha'arev. V'hasarei fota. Yechabeis begadav b'mayim. V'rachatz b'soro b'mayim. V'tamei ad ha'arev. Ve'asaf ish tahor, et efer hapara, v'hinia, michutz machane b'makom tahor, v'hayita, ladat b'nei Yisrael, l'mishmeret, l'meini dachatati.
Beautiful. Okay.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher natan lanu Torah emet. V'hayei olam nata b'toheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten HaTorah.
Amen. Watch your step here. Okay. For our second Aliyah, we invite Howard and Beryl Feldman to come forward. You continue on chapter 19. We're now skipping to verse 18. So chapter 19, verse 18, page 883. Yamdu tzvi velvel ben Naftali. Udvora Zelda bat Yitzchak Lalia Shenit. Verse 18.
Baruch Adonai Hamavarach.
Baruch Adonai Barach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamavarach Leolam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'lachach Esav v'taval b'mayim ishtahor, v'hiza al ha'ol v'al kol ha'kelim, v'al ha'nefashot asher hayu sham, v'al ha'nogea, ve'etzem o b'chalal o b'mat o b'kaver, uvamet o b'kaver, v'hiza hatahor al hatameh b'yom ha'shlishi u'v'yom ha'shvi'i, v'chita'o b'yom ha'shvi'i, וכיבס בגדיו ורחץ במים וטהר בערב ואיש אשר יטמע ולא יתחטא ונכרתה הנפש ההיא מתוך הקהל כי היא את מקדש אדוני טמא מי נידה לא זרק עליו טמאהו והייתה להם לחוקת עולם ומזה מי הנידה יכבס בגדיו והנוגע במי הנידה יטמע עד הערב וכל אשר יגבהו הטמא יטמע והנפש הנוגעת
תטמע עד הערב.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam notah b'tocheinu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Watch your step carefully there. For our third aliyah, we're honored to invite the parents to come forward, proud parents, Stephen and Leah. Yamdu Simcha ben Tzvi velvu dvora Zelda. V'le Rivka bat Moshe Yitzchak, v'Naomi Miriam, l'aliyah shlishit. As they're coming forward to the bima, I invite all to please rise. We're going to offer a prayer for healing, for cholim. As I offer this prayer for healing, we include not only all those who are holding in our hearts, I invite you as I pause in the prayer to quietly hold in your soul who you're praying for in need of healing personally. And all those in our congregation who are suffering, we include all those sadly still with COVID in not only our own country but throughout the world. It's had a devastating impact on all of us. Clearly those physically who've been suffering from it and still are suffering from it, but even emotionally and on our souls, the challenge that we faced has been tremendous. So we really offer prayers of healing to all those in need of healing in the widest sense. Mi sheberach avotenu, Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov, v'imotenu Sarah Rachel v'Leah, hu yivarech v'rapeh et hacholim. Hakadosh Baruch Hu Imlei Rachamim Aleihem Lachzikan Rapotam V'yishlach Mirafua Shlema From Shamayim Fat Nefesh Fat Guf B'toch Shar Cholim V'chazek Yedidei Oskim B'tzorcheihem Shabbat Mizok Rofa Gova Lavo Ashta Baglav Izman Karim V'nomar Amen. May the Holy One who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah bring blessing and healing to all those we pray for. May the Holy One mercifully restore them to health and vigor, granting them spiritual and physical well-being, together with all others who are ill, and may God grant strength to those who tend to them. Though Shabbat is a time to refrain from crying out, we yet hope and pray that healing is at hand, and let us say together, Amen. You may be seated, everyone. Continue now with the third aliyah. We're in the book of Numbers again, of course, chapter 20, verse 1, page 883. 883.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Borah Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Barak Leolam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bahar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'yavo b'nei Yisrael. Kol ha'ida midbartzin b'chodesh harishon. V'yeshev ha'am b'kadesh v'tamat sham. Miriam v'tekaver sham. V'lo haya mayim le'ida v'yikaluhu al Moshe v'al Aaron. V'yira ha'am. Vayarev ha'am im Moshe vayomru lemor velo gavanu kivanu bigva achenu lifnei Adonai velama הבאתם את קהל אדוני אל המדבר הזה, למות שם אנחנו ובעירנו, ולמה העליתונו ממצרים להביא אותנו אל המקום הרע הזה, לא, מקום זה רע, ותאנה וגפן ורימון, ומים אין לשתות, ויבוא משה וירון מפני הקהל אל פתח אוהל מועד, ויפלו על פניהם, וירא כבוד אדוני עליהם.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Mazel tov, Yisher koach. Mazel tov. Tov. We now turn to our last aliyah, the Maftira aliyah, which will be offered by our bat mitzvah, Tova. The reading is going to be for that fourth aliyah. Is it the same reading as yours, Amy?
No.
For some reason, it's not on the page here exactly what she's reading that I have.
It's on the page here, which is
Yeah.
It's the real maftir for.
Okay.
Lovely.
What does it start with there?
I don't. Very my love. I
And
don't.
then where did you end before? Do you know?
I
Is it-
ended here.
So,
This.
Vayom read it a little bit?
Very love. I don't.
Vayom-
Look in the look.
Which is 1 second here, a little page issue from her Adonai. You-
Very love. I don't.
You're going to find the page here exactly to make sure that we can share it with you. Give us a moment. She set up almost exactly.
June 19th maftir. 2236. Is that right?
2236. All right.
No, that's Bala. That's Bala Pukat. 2018.
Okay. So it's verse 18 in your Chumashim. Yes. Okay. The bottom of page 886. So we're chapter 20, verse 18, page 886. All right. Tamod, 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 Bachurat, Bat Hamitzvah, Tova Naftalia, Bat Simcha V'Leah Rivka, Lamaftira Chizki.
Baruch et Adonai humble ra.
Baruch Adonai Barach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Barach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torto. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Vayomer lav Edom lo tavor bi ben bacher v'etzei likartecha. Vayomer lav b'nei Yisrael bam sila na'aleh v'imei mecha nishte ani u'miknai v'natati michram rakin davar barglai evora. Vayomer lo tavor v'etzei Edom likarto ba'am kaved uviad chazaka v'ma'in Edom. Neton et Yisrael avor bigbulo v'et Yisrael me'alav. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Simitava, Mazel Tova, Mazel Tova, Simitava, Simitava, Mazel Tova, Mazel Tova, Simitava, Simitava, Mazel Tova, Mazel Tova, Simitava. Yeilana, Yeilana, Hod Elo Yisrael. We're going to rise, everybody. We're going to lift and dress the Sefer Torah for someone in a while. Yamod, Eliezer ben Shimon ve Tamod. Rivka bat Sarah hagolelet. Vezot haTorah asher sam Moshe livnei bnei Yisrael b'Adonai b'yad Moshe. So if everyone, as the Torah is placed down, you may be seated. We're going now to continue with the Haftarah. Oh, I see here. We're in the book of Judges, chapter 11, verses 1 through 33. And I'm going to just take a moment here to find, if someone sees where exactly what page is that in, and usually it's written down, where it is in the book, Haftarah. After Balak, actually, yeah. So. Nice, Amy. 910. Thank you, Amy. Shikoyach. Page 910.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar bin be'im tovim v'ratzah b'divreihem han'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah u'Moshe abdo u'Yisrael amo u'bin b'yei ha'emet v'tzedek. Amen. V'yiftach hagiladi haya gibor chayil v'hu meishah zonah v'yoled Gilad et yiftach v'ateled eshet Gilad lo banim v'yigdalu v'nei ha'isha v'yagarshu et yiftach v'yomeru lo tinchol b'veit avinu ki v'nisha acheret atah. Vayifrach yiftach mipnei achav, vayeshev be'eretz tov, vayitlakatu al yiftach anashim rekim, vayitzu imo, vayehi miyamim, vayilchamu v'nei amon im Yisrael, vayehi ka'asher nilchamu v'nei amon im Yisrael, vayelchu ziknei Gilad, lakachat et yiftach me'eretz tov, vayomeru liftach lacha, v'hayitalanu lakatzin, v'nilachama b'bnei amon, vayomer yiftach l'ziknei Gilad, halo atem sinetem oti, v'tegarshuni mibeit avi, umadua v'atem elai ata kasher tzar lachem, vayomeru ziknei Gilad el yiftach, Lachein ata shavnu elecha v'halachta imanu v'nilchamta b'bnei Amon v'hayita lanu l'rosh l'chol yoshvei Gilad v'yomer yiftach el ziknei Gilad imeshivim atem oti l'hiachem b'bnei Amon v'natan Adonai otam lefanai anochi eyeh lachem l'rosh Vayomer ziknei Gilad el yiftach Adonai yeh shomea benotenu im lo chid barachad kein naaseh vayelech yiftach im ziknei Gilad vayasimu ha'am oto alehem l'rosh u'katzin vayidaber yiftach et kol dvarav lifnei Adonai b'mitzpah Vayishlach yiftach malchim el melech b'nei Amon le'mor mali v'alach kivata elai l'hiachem b'artzi vayomer melech b'nei Amon el malchei yiftach ki lakach Yisrael et artzi va'aloto mimitzrayim me'arnon v'ad ha'ibok v'ad ha'yerdain ve'ata hashiva eten b'shalom Vayosef od yiftach, vayishlach malchim el melech b'nei Amon, vayomer lo ko amar yiftach, lo lakach Yisrael et eretz Moab v'et eretz b'nei Amon, ki ba'alotam mimitzrayim, vayelech Yisrael b'midbar ad yam suf, vayavo kadesha, Vayishlach Yisrael malchim el melech Edom lemor ebranav artsecha v'lo shama melech Edom v'gam el melech Moab shalach v'lo ava vayeshev Yisrael b'kadesh vayelech b'midbar vayasov et eretz Edom v'et eretz Moab vayavo mimitach shemesh le'eretz Moab vayachanun Ve'ever Arnon, v'lo va'u b'gvul Moab, ki Arnon givul Moab. Vaishlach Yisrael Malchim El Sichon Melch Emori Melch Heshbon Vayomer Lo Yisrael Nabrana B'artzacha Ad Mekomi V'lo Ha'emin Sichon Yisrael Avor Bigvulo Vayesov Sichon Ekolamo Vayachanu B'yatza Vayilachem Im Yisrael Vayitain Adonai Elohei Yisrael Et Sichon V'et Kolamo B'yad Yisrael Vayakum Vayirash Yisrael Et Kol Eretz Hamori Yoshev Haaretz Hahi Vayirishu Et Kol Givul Hamori Me'arnon V'ad Hayabo Gumin Hamidbar V'ad Hayardain V'ata Adonai Elohei Yisrael Horish Et Ha Emori Mibnei Amo Yisrael V'ata Tirashanu Halo Et Asher Yorishacha Kimosh Elecha Oto Tirash V'ein Kol Asher Kol Asher Horish Adonai Eloheinu Mipnei Oto Nirash Ve'ata Hato Tovata Mibalak Ben Tzipor Melch Moav Haro Ravim Yisrael Im Nilcham Bam B'Shevet Yisrael B'Chashbon Uvivnotecha Uvar Or Uvivnotecha Uvachol Emarim Asher Al Yedei Arnon Shalosh Meot Shana Umadua Lohit Al Tem Be'et Hahi Ve'anochi Lo Chatati Lach Ve'ata Ose'iti Ra'al Hilchem Bi Yishpot Adonai Hashofet Hayom Bein B'nei Yisrael Vein B'nei Amon V'lo Shama Melech B'nei Amon El Divrei Yiftach Asher Shalach Elav V'atihi Al Yiftach Ruach Adonai V'ya'avor Et HaGilad Ve'et Menashe V'ya'avor Et Mitpeh Gilad Umi Mitpeh Gilad Avar B'nei Amon V'yidar Yiftach Neder L'Adonai V'yomar Imnaton Titain Et B'nei Amon Be'adi V'haya Hayotze Asher Yitzei Midalte Beitin Likrati B'shuvi B'shalom Mipnei Amon V'haya L'Adonai V'ha'alitihu Olah V'ya'avor Yiftach El B'nei Amon Yachem Bam V'yitnei Adonai Be'ado V'yakain Mer'er V'ad Bochaminit Esrim Ir V'ad Avel Kramim Maka Kedula Me'od V'yikaneu B'nei Amon Mipnei B'nei Yisrael Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Dor Kol HaOlamim Tzadik B'chol Hadarot Ha'el HaNe'eman HaOmer V'oseh Hamdaberim Kayim Shechol Devarav Emet Bat Tzedek Ne'eman Atahu Adonai Eloheinu V'ne'emanim devarecha, v'davarecha midvarecha, achor lo yashuv rekam, ki al melch ne'eman, v'rachaman ata, baruch ata Adonai,
Boshemu.
ha'el ha'ne'eman, b'chol devarav.
Amen.
Rachem al Tzion ki beit chayenu, v'la luvat nefesh toshia, b'imheira b'yamenu, baruch ata Adonai,
Boshemu.
Mesameach Zion b'vaneha.
Amen.
Samchenu Adonai Eloheinu Be'eliyahu Hanavi Abdecha Uvmalchut Beit David Meshichecha Bimheira Yavo Ve'agel Libenu Al Kisolo Yeshev Zar Ve'lo Yinhalu Odachirim Et Kivodo Ki V'Shem Kodshahan Yishpata Lo Shelo Yichbene Ro Le'olam Va'ed Baruch Ata Adonai
Boshemu.
Magen David
Amen.
Al HaTorah ve'al HaVodah ve'al HaNevi'im ve'al Yom HaShabbat Hazeh Shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu Likdusha v'limnucha l'chavod ultifaret Al HaKol Adonai Eloheinu Anachnu modim lach umbarchim otach Yitbarach Shimcha b'fi kol chai Tamid le'olam va'ed Baruch Ata Adonai
Boshemu.
Mekadesh HaShabbat
Amen. Shekach Tova, beautiful job. So after now hearing the Haftarah, the prophets, we're now going to hear our prophet here. She's going to teach us a little bit about the Torah portion, which we studied together across several months, and do it with flair and a little humor maybe. All right? Let's hear. Bakasha, Tova.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Shabbat
Shalom.
Shalom.
Today, I'm going to talk about something we all love, the Chicago Cubs. Wait, that's the speech my dad wrote for me. But seriously, today I read the Torah portion of Flukat, which has a few themes, but one of the major themes is the ritual of the red cow, which sounds like an interesting flavor of ice cream. This ritual is supposed to purify a person after they've touched a corpse. It is one of the weirdest rituals in Judaism. And I think we can all agree that Judaism has some weird rituals. Just 12 years ago, my brother was on this bima getting circumcised in front of a large crowd. But he handled it like a champ. According to the Torah, when someone came in contact with a dead body, they became impure. To cleanse themselves, they did a complicated ritual where you take the perfect red cow, kill it, take its ashes, and mix it with water and other things, and then the priest sprinkled it 7 times towards the sanctuary. So what does this ritual mean? To explain it, Rabbi Joseph Shor, who lived in France 800 years ago, said this ritual is supposed to prevent Jews from contact with corpses. That contact was considered a sin. This means that the living are not supposed to worship or cling to the dead. Instead, the living are supposed to focus on life. It is understandable that we would want to hang on to a loved one who has died. But in Judaism, you don't want to overdo it. The corpse is not our loved one anymore, and the person who is grieving needs to get back into the world of living. Dr. Jacob Milgram, who was a Torah commentator in the 20th century, believes the ritual is metaphorical and is meant to help individuals get rid of their wrongdoings. It is a ceremony of ethical cleansing, he says. Our people no longer perform this ritual. It was put to decide when the temple was destroyed. So for me, the fact that our people have weird rituals makes me feel better because my Jewish family has many weird rituals. For example, my parents have a morning ritual where they don't like to speak to my brother and me until they have had coffee. On weekends, my brother ritually demands that I make his breakfast, especially my homemade biscuits. I happily oblige. But he should know, like the red cow, this ritual will not last forever. My dog has her own rituals too, like napping on the couch for 12 hours a day and then begging to sunbathe on our deck, even when it rains. I, of course, have no weird rituals. I do ballet, and that has rituals around it. One important ritual I do for ballet is preparing my hair in the perfect bun 1 hour before class. Then, when I get to the studio, I stretch for 10 minutes. At the end of class, we ritually clap and curtsy to the teacher to show our gratitude to her and thank her for teaching the class. Giving to others less fortunate is a Jewish ritual and value my family participates in. We can do this one a lot better than killing a red cow. As you know, my mom is an organizer, and she has taught me that getting more stuff is not what life is about. Giving to others rather than buying more for ourselves is a more meaningful way to live, and my family practices this ritual a lot. For example, in each of our cars, we have non-perishable food that we give to homeless people who we see at busy intersections. Before the pandemic, my parents and I boxed up meals for Rise Against Hunger, an international hunger relief organization. Because the ritual of giving is so important to my family and me, I have decided to give a portion of my bat mitzvah money to NC Arts in Action, which brings dance classes to 4th graders in Triangle Public Schools, particularly those with large free and reduced lunch populations. The ritual of dance has brought me much joy, and I want to help NC Arts in Action to provide dance classes for children who can't necessarily afford it. Thank goodness we don't have to go kill a red cow anymore. But in modern times, it's a reminder that rituals are important. I am proud that my family practices the Jewish ritual of giving and their own weird rituals. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Tova, beautiful job. I invite you to come on down here and in fact, invite your parents them up if they would like. You can leave your papers there. Bat mitzvah. Come on down. Tova, we are so proud of you. Oh my God. Amazing. This is another one of our rituals. Yes, we can see. Mom, okay. To be here together. This is another amazing ritual. I mean, I hope it's not too weird for you, but we're so honored and excited to celebrate with you. You know, what's also powerful about ritual, you really taught it beautifully. The ritual of, I mean, coffee is one of aspects, and yes, and ballet, we get it, okay, and making the biscuits, okay? But also this ritual today, right? I mean, one of the things I think is so powerful, I remember one of my teachers said this, and Jenny's teacher, that when you took the yad, the pointer to read, in some ways it's your hand reading this Torah, but you can see hundreds and hundreds and thousands of other hands for the first time putting the Torah down on their bar mitzvah day to actually read. In fact, a lot of your friends who've done this during this pandemic even, it's unbelievable, have done that ritual. And so that ritual really also is about not only giving you opportunities to reflect or have some fun, but it's also to look back on who did this ritual before. You know, you stand on the shoulders of some really giant people, giant not just in size, but in their heart and in terms of their soul. Think about people who are not here right now, yeah? But helped you kind of spiritually put your hand there. That's what rituals can do, and you understand that rituals are about what happens now, but it's also about connecting to what happened before. And God willing, what you will add to this ritual, you and your generation, in the time to come. We are so proud of you, proud of you in this moment for what you've contributed to this ritual. You've brought this ritual alive for us. We thank you for that. So we rise together, we offer a special ancient ritual priestly blessing to our bat mitzvah as our parents place the talit over her head. The priestly blessing. May God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine upon you, be gracious to you. May God always look upon you and grant you peace. We say together,
Amen.
Everyone, you can return back to the table over there, okay? Everyone, we invite you to remain standing. In a moment, we'll be returning the Sefer Torah to the Ark. Before we do so, if you'd like to open your prayer book, your Sidurim, to page 176, 176. This is a time in our service, typically, we offer special prayers for peace, for shalom in the world, in our own country, obviously in the land of Israel, and of the opportunities to really offer prayers where the Torah is still out, kind of honoring our community. And we are very, it's a remarkable Shabbat for many reasons. I mean, this is toward the bat mitzvah, our mass are generally off. Sorry about those under 12, you're almost there, God willing, soon. But also, this is Juneteenth, the newest federal holiday to be established after a holiday that was practiced for a number of years, but now has become more widely known in our country and our nation, and now is celebrated for the first time today or on Friday, depending on the federal practice. And we want to take a moment here really to honor that holiday, to honor this holiday as our holiday. And not just saying us in the Jewish community, but us as Americans. But particularly in the Jewish community, we honor this holiday here at Beth Meyer, first of all, because we have members of our own Jewish community, the Jewish people, who are Jews of color, who have ancestral connection to the slavery experience, sadly, and the discrimination and its aftermath, which still continues to this day, sadly. And it's important for us as a Jewish community to really honor Juneteenth as a chance to really reflect on our nation's ongoing struggle and challenges with coming to terms with the kind of original sin of our country. But even more than that, we in the Jewish community understand that when you put something in the national calendar, that tells a story about who we are and who we want to become. And now that Juneteenth is part of our national calendar, we pray that this, with God's help, will be an opportunity for our country, our nation, to continue to reckon with what is our history, our national history, our community history, including within the Jewish community, but beyond it. And how or what are we going to do in this Juneteenth time to continue the march forward, to truly raise our consciousness to ongoing today discrimination and challenge, but also look back at our history in its fullness, not just the parts that we want to see, but all that needs to be seen and honored on Juneteenth. And so in honor of that and remembrance of this holiday, this day of remembrance, I'm turning to page 176. I'm going to adapt this prayer on the left, in the upper left-hand corner. It says an alternate prayer for the community. I'm going to make this a prayer for our nation, so follow me. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless this holy nation. May it be your will to bless us, to hear our voices raised in prayer, and to protect us from any trouble and difficulty. Spread over us the divine canopy of peace and plant within us love and unity, peace and friendship. Banish all hate among us. May the words of Torah be fulfilled. Do not wrong one another, but fear God, that you may dwell upon the land securely. And so may it be your will. And let us say together, Amen. For that, we now prepare to return the Sefer Torah to the Ark. We invite, I believe, our Bat Mitzvah on page 183, as she will lead us in Yahalelu. Right, Tova, Yahalelu?
Yahalelu et Shem Adonai, ki nisgav Shemo levado.
Hodo ha'eretz v'shamayim, v'yaren keren amoti lechol hasidra, livnei Yisrael am gerovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Mizmor
David,
Havul
Adonai
Adonai, Havul Adonai Kavod Vaoz, Havul Adonai Kevod Shelo, Ishtachavu Adonai be'adrat kodesh, Kodonai Hamayim v'rakavodim, Adonai Hamayim rabim, Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai be'hadar, Kol Adonai shover arazim, Vaishaber Adonai et arzei halvanon, Vayarkitim kamo egel, levanon b'sirion, kamo ben rehemim, Kol Adonai chotzer ha'vodesh, Kol Adonai v'midbar, Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai echol elayalo, Vayechesof yarot uvechalo, Kulo omer kavod, Adonai lamabol yasha, Vayeshev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai oz ve'amo yitem, Adonai yevaret et amo v'shalom et chaimim lemachazim ba. Shabbat Shalom. Okay, so we're going to take a little break. She'll be back on soon. More of the ritual. So Shabbat Shalom, everybody. And Shabbat Shalom on those on YouTube and some even on Zoom. This is welcome to the modern house of worship. So if we're going to study together, our custom is in lieu of a rabbi's sermon. What we do is we study a piece of Torah together, a passage from the Torah and a commentary. And it's an opportunity to share your opinions. We say in the Jewish community, 2 Jews, 3 opinions. This is definitely in this family understands that. So feel free, even if you're a visitor, or if you're first time,
or not Jewish, you should definitely feel free to share your opinions. You can even disagree with the rabbis respectfully. You're allowed, okay? It's allowed. And those that are home as well, some of you are on Zoom. We're going to invite you to offer your commentary and thoughts as well. And those that are here in the congregation, I mean, you're not forced to. No Jewish guilt. But if you'd like to participate, when you talk, Jenny and I will repeat it because to make sure it can be heard on by the microphone by everybody back home, okay? So I hope there's enough text for everyone. If not, maybe you want to share with someone next to you. At least have your eyes on it. If you don't have access to one, just raise your hand. Does everyone have an access to see one at least, to share? All right, maybe we can pass, if you guys, it's just one person behind. There's someone maybe on sharing, start passing it back a little bit. Who else? All right. Don't be shy. It's okay. I want you to see. Okay. So if you still need, just look around. Okay. So the Torah portion is, as we noted before, Chukat, the special cow. That's one piece. We were going to focus on the Moses and the rock issue, because the classic issue, in fact, a lot of kids, a lot of students and adults ask the question, Moses, the great leader, I mean, he struggles, he's not perfect, obviously, a lot of challenges. The people are so difficult. He's got, complaining all the time. He's got to lead. He had a challenging background himself. He really is a remarkable person. So he doesn't get to the promised land because he has this moment. I mean, he has a realistic, normal human moment when he loses his temper and hits the rock twice, supposed to speak to it. Is that really illegitimate enough? That seems like a pretty extreme punishment to not have him go into the promised land. I mean, he dies on the outside. So this is a very long, ongoing Jewish debate throughout many countries. What does this mean? Is that fair? Why? Well, what we want to do here is what a lot of the rabbis do is, you will see, very creative, is they're going to kind of concede, some will, that the hitting, and that maybe it wasn't perfect, he didn't act perfectly fine, but it probably wasn't enough of a sin to deny him the promised land. That's pretty intense. But if you look around the story a little more closely, and this is a very kind of rabbinic way to read, look at the language around it. If you look really closely, you realize, well, maybe that's not the only thing Moses did that might be a little problematic. It wasn't just losing his temper and hitting the rock. Maybe there's some things he said, the language he used, which may bring a little more insight into why God gave such a harsh punishment. Now, by the way, you still might not buy it. That's okay. You're allowed not to buy it. But I think that we want to engage here in what did Moses say in that process that might give a little more information and then give us a little time for reflection ourselves when we reach difficult moments, not just about what we do, which is important, but also how we talk about it is also important. Maybe God was also upset about that as well. All right. So what we'll do is we'll invite Rabbi Jenius to read out here the text in the Torah, like the story, so we get it. And then we'll look at the commentary here, and then we'll do a conversation. All right, go ahead, Bakasha.
The Israelites arrived in a body at the wilderness of Tzin on the first new moon, and the people stayed at Kadesh. Miriam died there and was buried there. The community was without water, and they joined against Moshe and Aharon, Moses and Aaron. The people quarreled with Moshe, saying, "If only we had perished when our brothers perished at the instance of God. Why have you brought God's congregation into this wilderness for us and our beasts to die there? Why did you make us leave Egypt to bring us to this wretched place, a place with no grain or figs or vines or pomegranate? There is not even water to drink." Moshe took the rod from before Adonai, as God had commanded him. Moshe and Aaron assembled the congregation in front of the rock, and he said to them, "Listen, you rebels. Shall we get water for you out of this rock?" And Moshe raised his hand and struck the rock twice with his rod. Out came copious water, and the community and their beasts drank.
All right, there's like so much in this story. I mean, just the whole thing, they're basically saying, why'd you take us out of Egypt? Essentially, it was better there. Is such a human condition, right? The kids don't remember. They only remember the bad part. They don't remember. The memory goes away of how hard things were before, and they want to go back as if Egypt is better. This is such a classic challenge. Maybe many parents can understand that. Okay, the kids will know it. And also as well, they're complaining, nothing to drink, as if what they have here is worse. Look, they're suffering, but they really are pushing Moses with their complaining and their fetching. It's annoying what they're doing, basically. All right. But the main line I want to focus on is when he says, before the rock hits the rock, "Listen, you rebels, shall we get water from you out of this rock?" He's saying, you nudniks, okay, why are you annoying me so much? But it's a strong word. rebels, like you're going against me.
Yes, and the medieval commentators, Rashi and Ramban, they really look carefully at the fact that this is happening in front of the people. And I guess that parents can think about this also, or leaders. And you may be a leader at work or in your community, but there's a certain obligation that we have when we realize that we are modeling behavior for other people. And so it's not only that Moses loses his temper, or not only the fact that he does not follow directions. He was supposed to speak to the rock and he hits the rock, but he is doing this publicly in front of people. And in this moment, he has an opportunity to perhaps grow the people's faithfulness in the desert. Like, he's going to bring water out of a rock, of all things. Like, water doesn't usually come from rocks. That's an amazing thing. So this is a moment when Moses could sort of set the standard and remind people about how miraculous it is that they have been freed from slavery and that they're really on the cusp of entering the promised land. But instead, he, in front of everyone, really
publicly loses it.
Yeah, loses it in such a way that it diminishes the potential of what that moment could have provided.
He shames them on some level. He shames the people, basically.
Yeah.
What you're going. I think it's a fantastic point. All right. Let's look at this commentary here to get even more into this issue about this. You rebels, what are you doing, okay? This is from a Hasidic rabbi, a teacher from a couple hundred years ago. Go ahead, Rabbi.
Okay, so Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev taught, when it says, "Listen, you rebels," the use of this phrase was considered a major sin committed by Moshe. For when the children of Israel find themselves in a time of great difficulty, a leader must help the people and not harshly criticize them. Indeed, it is stated in the Talmud, if a person finds themselves in a time of suffering, they should take time to investigate their deeds. The teaching says that people should examine and review their own deeds, not the deeds of others.
So basically what he's saying here is that when Moses goes after them, he's piling it on. They're suffering, they're struggling, this is not their high moment. And there are many ways he could have dealt with that struggle, but he decided, in a sense, to go for the jugular and go further to dig into him. And you have to read the room, Moses. You got to understand that if they're suffering like this and fetching, it may not be great. It's not a highlight moment for the Jewish people. That's clear. But is this the time to give it more and to pour it on and to call them names and do it publicly? Great point. Or is this a time to try to work it a little more with compassion or try and bring them along? Be aware of their own kind of psyche, like they're lacking confidence this moment. So, is this the time to really go for it? And it's powerful when the Talmud says, like, when someone's in suffering, what the Talmud means is that there's a famous phrase a lot used in the high holy day of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur and our tradition when you do the period of introspection in your life. It says, if you're suffering in your life, one way when you're suffering is to blame someone else. The Talmud's saying, not that that's not true, by the way, that's legitimate, but also look in. Is there something you're contributing to this suffering? Is there something within your life and your deeds that may have had some contributing factor? Doesn't mean there's always, but it means investigate. Take some time. But that doesn't mean I tell someone else, here's the deed you did wrong. I need to realize for my own self what my deeds are. So the mitzvah is on me to investigate myself, not for Moses to tell everyone your chopped liver, right? That's not the moment.
Right. And I think he's emphasizing that it's a natural human reaction when we feel really angry and exasperated to lash out at others. And that lashing out may be warranted. But beneath that, there's a recognition that at the end of the day, I can't control those kvetchers, ultimately. I can't make this okay for them necessarily. I can't heal their own exasperation. What I can make a dent in is my own soul. What I can improve upon is the way that I respond to this difficult situation. That's where I actually have some control.
You're fair. And I think just to bring it, now we're going to open up in a second for you all to participate who would like to offer your thoughts in this commentary. I want to say that I think this also then really says, why could Moses get in the promised land? Really saying is because he's lost a leadership. His leadership has certain strengths. He had certain abilities, clearly, with Pharaoh and all that stuff. But at this moment, he's essentially lost that ability to understand the nuance between leading lovingly and moving forward. and just piling on. Maybe because, frankly, he's at the
He's
end
done.
of his rope. And that's understandable. There's a time to retire. There's time to put up the talus and say, I had enough already because I can't take it anymore. And you know what? It was hard. Like, we can be compassionate on Moses. Moses had a hard job. And he reached his point. So it wasn't just hitting the rock. It's how he spoke to the people, realized he's burned out. He's burned out. Okay. Now's a chance for us, people here on Zoom who might have commentaries within our shul, and you here in the congregation. There is no Jewish guilt or pressure. But if there's anyone who'd like to raise their hand, I already see Carl Munt's got a point here. So I'm going to give Carl over here in the corner, and we'll repeat it so everyone can hear it at home. Carl, what do you say?
No, what I found interesting was, to me, it was more about Moses' relationship with God. Because, like, the hitting the rocks was very performative, and it was very much about drawing the attention to him, almost implying that he had the power,
Yes.
as opposed to God. So when I looked at it in terms of the punishment, because in all honesty, he just parrots a lot of things that God has already said about the people
Yes.
throughout the entire journey.
That is true.
He didn't say anything that he hadn't heard from God. The issue was, to me,
Yes.
it seemed like he was claiming the power.
So Carl's bringing a whole other side, right? I mean, Carl's saying, look, and it's an excellent point. It's totally supported by the text. God says, look, you can take water from the rock by speaking to it. By hitting, Moses is, in a sense, imitating, or you could say trying to usurp, or maybe his ego, because Moses says the Torah is the most humble guy in the world. Doesn't look that humble right here. The opposite, arrogance. But perhaps Moses is not just, we're critiquing him on the leadership side with the people. Carl's saying, no, it's a leadership side in the aspect of God. He's forgotten his place. And I think it's a very profound point. So his leadership is maybe on both sides of the table not going well. Both sides of the relationship. Yefeh. Kol
Right.
hakavod.
So in Jewish tradition, humility is about being
Right-sized.
right-sized.
Okay.
And he's lost perspective, perhaps,
Yep.
on where he fits into
Excellent
the
point.
picture.
All right, Maura, Amy, what do you say?
I don't want to talk too much because I know you have to repeat what I say.
It's okay.
But first, to Carl's point, and Carl, you may not be aware of this, yes, but there's an earlier story where Moses is told by God to hit the rock.
Yeah.
And this time he's told, go with your rod,
Right.
but speak to the rock. Well, so maybe Moses just didn't hear that part, right? So a little bit I want to defend Moses. On the other hand,
Alan Dershowitz over here.
understands that there's a time when you have to be introspective enough to know when to step aside and let someone else take over. I recently experienced that myself.
Yep.
And so I fully concur with what you said about that, but I just think that this was setting Moshe up. And then one final thing, I'm sorry. But
No, it's
my
good.
mom recently taught me, and for parents out there, and I'm a grandparent, so I'm a generation above many of you, but she taught me, so when my grandson did something that I didn't like, I reacted, and she chastised me, and she said, Mom, he's not in control. He's 3 years old. You can be in control of
Yes.
yourself.
So
You
profound.
have to control your reaction. So I have this 30-something telling me how to parent because I did it all wrong with her. But I think that there are lessons there to be learned from this. I just think it's a little bit unfair on Moshe.
You want some? All right, so Amy brought a lot of great life Torah here, Torah Taim. So first of all, it says, look, it's true, and Amy, it's like a whole other Talmud. Now we're getting really rabbinic in getting in the details. There's another story of this rendition of it where God does tell Moses to take the rock hit the rock with a rod. So this is another version of a similar story, and there's similarities. So Moses might have been confused, or he was set up in a way. Look, his temper, it could say it's bad, but it's a natural human experience. So Amy was saying, look, it made me a little too hard on Moses. Maybe he didn't understand. We could be more compassionate. That's on one side. But then he was just bringing another piece of this thing about Moses that essentially, like, a couple things. She said, look, there's a time to step aside, to know your limits, and know when it's time to pass the rod, so to speak. That's one piece. But also she was giving a great story about her own family with her own daughter and own grandchild, when the little child, a 3-year grandchild, 3-year-old, doesn't know how to, doesn't fully understand how to react. It's hard. It's like, I think, training someone. They don't get the consequences. They don't know the process. You as the adult hopefully do, and so you have to measure that, knowing their capacity. And maybe Moses just underestimated, didn't understand their capacity. They're a place of suffering, and they're like a 3-year-old child. Moses needs to do a better job of knowing his abilities and knowing his limits, and he didn't in this case. And it's a great point, Amy. It said only as a teacher and grandmother could say. Let me throw here just a couple comments from the congregation here by Zoom. All right, let's see. So Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, a recent rabbi, sadly, who died, a great rabbi of Great Britain, suggests that Moses was grief-stricken as a result of Miriam's death. That's also in the beginning of the story. We didn't even talk about that. And therefore, while in grief, could not control his emotions. This makes sense. There's also an element of repetition here. Twice before, Moshe brought forth water by striking a rock. If it worked before by striking the rock, why not a third time? So that's actually Amy's bringing to other stories. But also, it's also putting a little into the inner psychology of Moses, right? We didn't even mention, at the beginning, Miriam dies. He's his sister. So that's a whole other, can't we understand Moses being in a challenge place? That's an excellent point. All right. Moses was only human. And Leah continues on, but to God, he was much more. Moses, to having the inner memory that he was to reflect back to the people, we are all so much more, right? He lost his ability to really look beyond and kind of higher self. All right. Ellen Adelman puts in, Rabbi Sachs also suggests that Moshe was the right leader to bring the Israelites out of Egypt, but not to lead the people in the land. That required a different leadership style, so Joshua is the right leader for being in the land. It's another piece here, right? That this really wasn't a punishment per se, it's more of a changing of the guard. That's another very classic commentary. You fit. All right. Well, I need my glasses. The most everyone here. Okay. So do you think that there was an issue with saying, shall we bring forth water from this rock? Is he taking credit for the water instead of giving God the credit? That's Carl's point. That's Rabbi Carl's point. All right. So Leah adds on. And about the most interesting nuance catch in the language, Harry Polstad. But only Caleb and Joshua of that generation were to enter the promise. Yafet, it's even more precise. So remember, he's actually touching on another story, the 12 spies, which happened a couple of parshas earlier. 12 go out, 10 say don't do it, we're going to get crushed. 2 say yes, Caleb and Joshua. So it's really a particular group of people that have a certain attitude, a certain ability to see forward that are going to get there. And Leah adds, they were the spies that spoke the truth. They were truthful spies. All right. Anyone else here in our congregation want to offer any other thoughts about this challenge of Moses? Oh, mom and dad, bakasha. All right. Good job, man. Very nice job. Very thinking. All right, mom.
My favorite book is The Four Agreements, and one is not to take anything personally. And Moshe took all of this
Nachon.
really had nothing to do with him, right?
Right.
They were just miserable.
That's right.
And then 2,
Nice.
to bring it to Juneteenth, it makes me think we're talking about punishment. I mean, we have so many people in prisons right now
Yeah.
who should not be sitting there because we have over-punished them for their
Our legal
crimes.
system.
So it sort of continues on today, even though we're talking about, I don't even
So wrongful or excessive punishment. So Leah's making 2 points here. The first one she said there's a book called The Four Agreements, and it says don't take things personally. Basically, Moses took something personally that really wasn't about him. He was a projection, or he's sitting in a person taking the brunt, but it's really not about him. And it's a very profound point about leadership in general, by the way. And even like parenting, sometimes your kids act out when it's not about you, but they let it out on you because you're the one there, That's what she's saying in light of Juneteenth is that in our legal system and excessive punishment, incarceration, our challenge over-policing, things of this nature, that this is really, it talks the broader theme that's connected with this day about what does punishment mean? What's appropriate? What are ways to bring people back to the quote-unquote path? Yeah.
experienced trauma.
Yes.
And of course he's
So those who've experienced trauma is the first response to punish or to find alternative ways to bring people back. Yafeh, kol hakavod. All right, Dad, last comment from you.
The thing that struck me about that phrase, listen, you rebels, is that phrase, you rebels is a way, you got the leader, functionally the president, essentially saying, you're not on the same team as us.
Yes.
There are 2 classes of people, those who are for us and those who are against us. And when you are the leader, you got to say, we may all have different views, but we're on the same team. And to me, that was the most fundamental flaw of leadership.
President Feldman. There we go. Amazing. So he said, when you call, and I think that is why I'd never even read it that way. Wow. So he says, the counselor says, look, you rebels, it's an othering of the experience. Exactly. It's like, and that's a whole other thing, don't separate yourself from the community. Basically, they're no longer part of the Bnei Israel, the Israelite. They're now others. They're the quote-unquote rebels. It's not just different opinions, and therefore we're no longer one country anymore. When you see the opposition not just as a differing opinion, but the enemy, then you're leading to insurrections. Not to get too political, but that's where it's going. I think it's an excellent point. What you call your opposition can affect how you treat and how the world looks at the other people. That's a very profound point that Yeshua. Wow. Kol hakavod. Great studying together. You can take your text and pass them over to the middle. Maura Amy, our usher, will help collect. We invite our bat mitzvah to come back up onto the ark. We're going to be concluding our service now with the prayer service, part of our service called the Musaf. So we invite all to please rise on page 184 as Tova begins to lead us in Chatzi Kaddish of Musaf.
Yitgadol v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach yirteh v'yamlich malchuteh.
Mehayechon v'yomechon Yeho Beit Yisrael ba'agala
U'bizman
karim. Amen.
Yeshmei Rabba mevorach le'olam u'le'olam maya yitbarach.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudasham
Brichu.
le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata
Tushbechata v'nechemata
damiran le'ama.
v'meru.
Amen.
So, Chavrei, face the ark. On pages 185 through 187, we pray together the Amidah, and the rest is chance for silent prayer, silent Amidah.
Adonai sifatai tivta ufi agiti latecha Baruch atah
Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Gad, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואמהות, ומביא גואל לבני בניהם, למען שמו ויאהבה, מלך עוזר ופוקד משיח ומגן. ברוך אתה, אדוני, מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה מתים את הרע ולהושיע. מורי אתה, מבקר חיים בחסד, מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים והופך חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו, לשני עפר, מי כמוך בגבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה.
בנאמן אתה לחיות מתי, ברוך אתה אדוני
בשמו
מחיי המתים.
אמן.
נעריצך
ונקדישך, אזוריח שרפי קודש, המקדישים שירת קודש, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה ואמר, קדוש קדוש קדוש, אדוני צבאות מלוא הארץ כבודו.
כבודו
מלא עולם כבודו, כבודו מלא עולם כבודו, כבודו מלא עולם. שרתיו שואלים זה לזה, האם מקום כבודו. משרתיו שואלים זה לזה, האם מקום כבודו.
לעומתם ברוך יאמרו,
ברוך אדוני ממקומו, הוא יפה ברחמים ויעבונם, המייחדים שמו ערב הבוקר וכל יום תמיד. פעמיים יהבה, שמע אומרים, שמע ישראל, אדוני Hakeinu, Hoshienu, V'yashmienu, Be'achamav, She'eni Le'nei Kol Chai, Li'od La'el Elohim, Ani Adonai Elohechem, U'direi Hodshecha, Katuv Le'emor, Im lo Le'olam V'na'ich Zion, Dor Vador, Hallelujah.
Dor vador nagid God lecha, U'lanetzach netzachim kedushatcha nakdish, V'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu mish le'olam va'ed, Ki Melech gadol v'kadosh ata, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el ha'kadosh.
Amen. Give me silent prayer.
Ose shalom bimromav, Huyase shalom aleinu, Ve'al kol Yisrael, Bimru, Imru, Amen.
Page 203, Kaddish Shalem.
Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabban,
Amen.
Ve'alma divrach hirtei, V'yamlich malchutei, V'chayachonu v'yomechon, Uv'chayedecho Beit Yisrael, V'agala uv'izman kariv imeru.
Amen. Yesh Rabba Mevorah, Olam U'Ameon Yitbarach.
Yitbarach v'yishabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitram v'yinaseh, v'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei Kedusha.
Rehu.
Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, Tushbachata v'ne'emata, Da'amiran v'alma v'imeru.
Amen.
Titgabal tzoton avuchon, D'chol Yisrael kadam avuchon, Dibi shemaya v'imeru.
Amen.
Yehe shalom rabba min shemaya, V'chayom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'ramav, Hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imeru.
Amen. 204.
Ein Keloheinu,
Ein Adonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Gamashienu, Mich Eloheinu, Mich Adonenu, Mich Kemalkeinu, Mich Hamashienu. Nor el Eloheinu, nor el Adonenu, nor el Malkeinu, nor el Hamashienu. Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, Atahu Shiktiru. Please rise. Page 205. Ektoret hasamim aleinu leshabeach ladon hako, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגרי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים משתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש
ברוך הוא.
כן, נקבל לך ונתקן.
Kakatu b'Toratecha, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed.
ונאמר לאדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. May be seated, everyone. We turn to page 207. Invite those in mourning or observing a yard site this Shabbat to rise for Mourner's Kaddish, Mourner's Prayer, Mourner's Kaddish, page 207, Kaddish Yatom. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shmei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divra kirute v'yamlich malchute. B'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala ubizman kariv v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal Shmei b'kodisha b'richu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran v'alma v'yimru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom imromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru.
Amen.
Be see everyone. Shabbat shalom. We are excited to bring back for the first time in forever actual giving in person gifts with our new member of the Board of Trustees. Well, not new vice president of our Board of Trustees, I should say, Steve Hamill, who is going to offer some gifts to our bat mitzvah.
First of all, have you had a chance to read this? With all due respect to everyone else who prepared these in the past, I've never seen humor before. And there's a lot of humor in here. So if you haven't had a chance afterwards, read the back page. It's pretty good. Woman of the hour.
Amen.
Based on today, I think you're the woman of the broadcast day, not just the hour. Tova. So the root of Tova, as you know, is Tov, which is good.
Amen.
Tov Ma'od is very good. Now, I think what you accomplished today was very good. But since I know your parents, Leah and Stephen and your brother Jordan, all believe in democracy, I'd like to see a show of hands from the congregation. Who thinks Tova was Tov Ma'od? Very good. Wow. So for those of you on YouTube, it was a unanimous vote. As you can see, your family, friends, the entire Beth Meyer congregation are all proud of you. I'm particularly happy to be here with you today, since I remember a few years ago you were at our house and you had a big smile on your face as you were playing with our dogs. I don't know if you remember that. To help you continue your Jewish journey, I'm pleased to present you with the following gifts: a mezuzah in kosher parchment from the Sisterhood and Men's Club, a Tanakh and a certificate of bar mitzvah from the Beth Meyer Board of Trustees, a Kiddush cup and candlestick
from this year's B'nai Mitzvah class. As you bring Shabbat into your home, you'll remember your whole class and this special time in your life.
Amen.
You stand here today as an adult member of the congregation, someone who makes really great biscuits. And we're excited to watch you continue on your Jewish journey as a member of the Beth Meyer family. Mazel tov.
Mazel
Amen.
tov.
Mazel
Mazel tov.
tov.
Mazel tov. Beautiful job. Shakar, Steve. Beautiful job. Don't make a broadcast. Shakar. All right. Tov. Just going to continue with just a few announcements here. So we are in the summer season, of course, but it's a unique season because we are in the process of reopening. So many things will still, of course, definitely happen on Zoom and on the internet and various things, but some things are starting to happen, please God, more in person. So first of all, over the course of the summer, Amy's offering more Amy class, March through Jewish History, Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Each class is standalone, so come to whichever one you're able to make. You can register online for more information about that. Being Jewish, Exploring Jewish Identity, Monday, June 21st at 7:30. That's probably, is that next Monday? My date's coming up, next Monday coming up. Hear from 3 members of the Beth Meyer Progressive Kehillah who will share some of their life stories and experiences that have shaped their values and beliefs. We have trivia coming up on July 5th, Monday, July 5th at 7:30 on Zoom. Stay tuned for our sisterhood and women leaders are doing a Honey from the Heart fundraiser for Rosh Hashanah. More information to come about that during the summer. And a reminder, probably the biggest announcement is that starting on July 2nd, so the weekend of July 4th, basically, we are, quote-unquote, reopening as a synagogue. What does that mean? That means that everyone invited to come to shul, anyone of any age. Those who are under 12 at that point are expected to wear a mask, sadly, until we hope very soon you can get your vaccinations. But everyone above 12, it is your choice. We will continue to have YouTube going on for experiences that don't feel comfortable coming in person. And if you come to shul, you can still wear a mask. It's okay. No one's going to judge you for that purpose. However, know that anyone above 12, we are essentially assuming people are vaccinated. We respectfully request those that are not to wear masks continue to do so. But you're allowed to come maskless. We will have food. We are returning back to the new normal on that Shabbat weekend. We really hope you'll come out and celebrate with us. It's been a huge journey, and we're giving a little bit of time just to prepare ourselves for that transition. But we hope you'll come, and basically, God willing, we expect, with God's help and Dr. Fauci, that this will be the future of our practices, even through the high holidays and going through the fall. But of course, stay tuned in case anything changes. I'm sure you'll hear about it from multiple sources, but hopefully this is the beginning of the end of this current experience of COVID. So that, remember, July 4th weekend, really Shabbat, that's when we're going to really reopen as a synagogue fully. Remember that we have services on Friday night at 8, Shabbat morning, of course, at 9:30, Wednesday at 7, and Sunday at 9. Unless there are other announcements to make, we're going to wrap up our service here. Okay, we're turning to page 211 for Adon Olam. Okay, Bakasha.
Adon Olam,
Asher
malav eterem go yitzir nivra v'yed nasa v'hefsel kol azai melech shemo nikra v'yamharei yivlot hakol levado yimloch nora v'hu haya v'hu hoveh v'hu yeh b'tifara v'hu echad v'ein sheni le'amshir lo le'achbira b'li reshi b'li tachlit v'lo ha'oz ve'am Yisra v'hu eli v'chai go'ali v'tzur hebli b'yet sahara v'hu nisi umanos li menat kosi v'yom Please rise.
Ve'ado hafkid ruchi ve'tishan ve'ayira ve'im ruchi geviati Adonai li ve'lo ira.
Al Kain Barach Adonai et Yom HaShabbat v'kadshehu Zavri
L'chaim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen. L'chaim. Don't worry, just choose. Okay, all right. Dying. Do it together? It was beautiful.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
Hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom, our church can mazel tov.
everyone.
Shabbat shalom,
Shabbat shalom.
mazel tov.
Mazel tov.
You did it. Mazel tov. Our service
Hashivenu Adonai elecha Venashuva Hadesh Yameinu kekedem Hashivenu Adonai elecha Venashuva Hadesh Yameinu